So 128.14. Yeah. My first question that I wrote down was, is Lev better? Do we like him as he is? Do we want him back like Lisa does?
I personally don't. I don't know. I don't like him as much as I did before.
No, I never do.
He was one of my favorite characters in the beginning just because he really knew what he wanted as a person. I mean, I had to respect that in some ways, but I don't know. He just seems so different now than the Lev we knew in the beginning.
He still knows what he wants. Like he's really vulnerable. So he was in that group, and now he knows what he wants. Like he wants chaos. That's what they want.
He's definitely being influenced by his surroundings more than he was before. Like, I don't know, he had everyone telling him his whole life, in a sense, kind of that like unwinding was terrible, and so he believed, like he wouldn't believe that. Like whenever Connor and Risa tried to explain to him, he wasn't easily like swayed. But now, you know, a couple people tell him that they want chaos, and he wants chaos now as well. He's probably just really confused.
How far have you read this? Because I don't want to. Oh, you read the unwinding.
Yeah,
Of
it
course.
was so sad.
That I did. That's the one I'm gonna.
Does Roland deserve it?
I don't think anyone
I don't
deserves
either.
that.
Yeah,
I don't think he's really dangerous. I think that he plays mind tricks,
Well, now he's-
but
yeah.
I think before the
I
incident
used
with him,
him in one of mine as. Okay. On the page where this is where he's going. They're taking him to be unwound, and he's been like trying to act all tough through this like whole novel. Like he's in charge of everybody. He's gonna control everybody, and then when they try to take him, his fear finally comes out, and he acts like any of us would act if we were being taken to be unwound or whatever. And he's like, he kind of reminded me of like when you're trying to act tough and then reality sets in and you like process it and you just want to like cry about it and you just get so scared. And he's been trying to act all tough, and now that it's like happening, he like finally cracks and his like fear finally shows. If that makes sense.
Agree with that.
I did my part on that as well. Sorry, I'll just throw that in. I did it more on 287, 288. Whenever he's actually like, it's the last page that we're supposed to read, and they're like prepping him, I guess, for the unwinding process. And it's not as much about Roland, but more so about like all the unwinds as a whole. It says, you know, like you're not gonna feel a thing, and the medical staff like has like happy yellow scrubs and everything like that. But if you think of all the people that have been unwound, like day in and day out, how many kids went through that, I thought that was just like shocking to think about. And the fact that they're awake, like I never would have thought of that. And it was like I could hardly stomach that part. Like I could barely even read it. But whenever you think about all the kids that went through that, and like from a doctor's point of view, I feel like the doctors almost have to like turn off their emotions in a way.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how you as a person could do that to another person. Like you see like a deep sense of like inequality. Like the doctors almost feel like see the kids not as kids and as people, but more like as science. which I thought was a view that I hadn't really seen. I hadn't seen that perspective until this part.
And adding on to that, like when they at the end of his like unwinding, they're like you said, they like have to turn off their emotions. They were talking about like a basketball game, like kind of like distracting, sort of.
And it just shows like how used they are, like how normal that is for them. Like it's not shocking to cut off people's body parts. Like it's just normal, and it's normal. Like for the society, I think.
Along, this is off these lines, but thoughts on the Admiral after he talks with Indy and we discover his true role in the graveyard and what he's doing.
That part.
Well, it doesn't say what he does with them yet, but people think.
Well, and
It definitely hints
infers
at things.
whenever it's like, and as many people know him as Humphrey.
I loved the way that Schusterman tied that in. Like whenever I was reading throughout it, it always like went back to that kid, but I never would have thought he would be like a main character. That was really surprising, and I thought it was a great like kind of plot twist.
Poor Andy.
I know, poor guy. Like you kind of gotta love him, as annoying as he was.
Is there hope for anyone? I mean, they try and Shusterman's showing how Connor has sparked hope among the unwinds at Happy Journey. Is there hope among them? And is there any chance of escape and living a free life? I'm sorry, I asked a question while everyone was writing. That was my bad. We've got to have some like elevator music as transition.
I know.
I think that there is hope because the juvie cops don't really care.
Yeah.
Like, they know that they're there, but as long as they stay there, they're not going to care. I don't think.
Is the sorry, they're still writing. Never mind.
That's like the 40th. This is for you. That's a 40 butterfly. It did work. I mean, that wasn't the smoothest. I mean, it turned out to be the other. He did. What was that? Shut up.
What was your question?
I'm looking at the board. Oh, you mean for this? Sorry. Is the system broken of unwinding?
Yeah.
No, not unethical. I mean, I think
Is it
unless y'all think it's ethical, which
Well,
I would love to hear the
looking at it
argument.
from the standpoint of that, they have all these kids that are just being able to hide out. From that perspective, it's broken because there's still a ton of kids on the street and there's still a ton of kids over there. And I think it's broken.
I think, I don't know, that's a hard question. It's broken to a point, but in the same sense, it almost feels as if the government is like, about to use a vocabulary word, I'm not really sure if this is the right context, like omniscient, like it seems like they know all, in that sense, like, I don't want to say this if y'all don't know. Have y'all heard about, I'm asking you, have you heard about the graveyard? Like about the juvie cops in the graveyard?
About how they know about it?
Okay, yeah, just making sure. I didn't say that. But it seems like like I felt sad for the admiral in that sense because he works so hard to keep it a secret. Like it's almost like he's kind of naive to what they know, and so it's broken in the sense, I guess, that they let stuff like that happen, but in the same way, it's almost like fault proof because it seems like they know exactly what's going on everywhere.
Do you think the admiral knew about the Judy Cops?
No,
I think he might have.
Well, it's entirely
Because he was working with them. Not with them, I mean.
that he was keeping them on the payroll.
and I could almost, I guess, in that same sense, see him as the kind of person who would need that distraction of like taking care of the kids and taking care of the graveyard. It's almost like he's trying to make up for what he did before. And so if he did know, I could see him, I guess, like still acting like he didn't just for the distraction.
Parents tell you, I heard when I was on vacation, there's another charge
Really, my final question that has anything to do with this story. We find out in the last section, if not this section, there are 3 sides to the Heartland War. Whose side would you be on?
You can't ask questions like that.
My question is,
For the record, I think I just did.
What? Well, you remind me. What were the 3 sides?
There was the pro-life, pro-choice, and then there was the government who was trying to remain neutral.
Like the military.
There's really nothing productive that we can do because they're not giving them a chance.
I think the military, I would want to keep them at bay and then find a compromise other than
Yeah, not
I didn't. Yeah, because like as a person, I'm not really aggressive. I'm really passive and just like I'd rather just not say anything at all than say something. And so I think I'd be with the military as well.
Well, if we take out that neutral aspect, though, what are you pro-life or pro-choice? Because
You've already asked that question like 3 times.
I
everybody
think
has answered it. Yeah.
I think unwinding is ethical to a certain degree. Like, that's what I was talking about in our journaling. Like, the fact that if a child had cancer right now, and an unwind was, not saying that, like, the parents just didn't want them, but an unwind was, like, sick, or they weren't going to live any longer. The fact that they, like, medically have found a way to, like, transplant and, like, a lot further than how we have. I think that the idea behind it is ethical, but the extent that they've taken it to makes it unethical. Like, just because you don't want a child doesn't mean you can just cut them up and have them shipped away. Like, parents shouldn't have that option. Yeah. So I guess I would be pro-life, but I would be neutral if the option came.
But are you really to the society when you're 13?
But from a doctor's point of view, that's big to be able to do that.
That's recording.
Kelly,
Have
what
you
was
read
your
both of yours? Have you read both of yours?
Well, no, I can read my other one, but what page are you on, Adam? Do you know?
She just finished Roland's on one.
It does make sense.
I don't want to read it. I did the last week. Yeah.
I
Do
understand.
you want to read yours?
Oh, I can. I mean, that was my major one. These ones aren't. But I can. Okay, I did Connor too. And it was the part where Roland was beating him up. And I felt like at the beginning Connor was just gonna like take it, and then like all his frustration and anger towards Roland he just like let it out, and he finally just fought back. Which I feel like we can be like that, not necessarily fighting, but like.
guys, when you finish, put those back in the baskets because I have not
It's now prevalent in society. That's why it's close to this
in the
time.
basket yet.
I'm not.
That brings me to the second question.
I'm gonna do yours.
Today's the 28th.
I was the philosopher king, and I did the section where Imbi is in fact the central bumper on the pinball board, rebounding. Oh, and then that goes to. It's on page 238, but it's whenever yeah, that's before this section. But it,
No, it isn't. Yeah, it is.
but it leads into this section. And also the section where the admiral knows, like, that Roland didn't do it, but he's letting Connor believe it so that he can, like, I think it just shows strategy. I think that's a major theme throughout this section. Like, Roland had a strategy, and once he got there, he would turn them in and offer. I just think it's like a chess game. And then on page 268, the graveyard was heaven disguised as hell, and the harvest camp was hell disguised as heaven. And I put the theme as paradise.
Sorry, there's another brief writing intermission.
What page was Lisa whenever Roland turned them in? I can strike evidence if you don't. It's not a big deal.
I don't have that.
Okay.
Your body doesn't belong to you. Your body belongs to your
Oh,
parents.
it's about the...
Can I take a situation? Take a situation. So let's say your body belongs to your parents and your parents rape you just because your body.
So listening to their conversation, does your body belong to you or your parents? Like even before 18?
Take that situation like if you say your body belongs to your parents.
I think if you have your own intellectual thought, then your body is yours. Like,
But is it your own?
yes.
It is?
Yes.
Your parents have brought you.
Humans are probably
They have
It's
jammed
mine.
their
So
beliefs
we're back to
into
saying
your mind.
Okay,
Is
but I
your
can
free
also.
will really your free will? Yes, you have an extent of freedom. Your conscience has been already brainwashed to fit the ideals that your parents have put in.
But I can educate myself.
True.
the child makes its own
But
decisions.
if we look at the pure medical aspect of unwinding,
If the child did not make their own decisions,
it is a medical procedure.
I'm not asking about that. I'm asking if you think if your body is yours or your parents.
Definitely my
they
own.
make their own decisions. The parents have consequences until they're 18.
But what does that say for the novel?
Are we talking right now about in a novel sense or in our lives personally?
Both.
Both? Because I know in my own life personally, like, it says in the Bible, like, our body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. So I don't consider my body mine or my parents, but more like God's to glorify Him. But in a book sense, I mean, it doesn't really hit hard on religion or anything like that. But I don't know, in the book, that's hard to say. I think, like, I don't want to, it's in the end, but, you know, I don't want to say it, but in the end, whenever Connor is, like, telling people the reason,
I do stupid
and
things.
he's, like,
I get
shouting and all the kids are cheering,
Yeah.
I think that part kind of
myself and my parents.
would be my answer, that, like, our bodies are our
My
own.
parents aren't telling me because I'm their property.
In the book, Connor's body is his own and Reese's is her own.
Which is why.
I don't know. I don't want to go into it because then that leads to the book.
Because you're not their property, you're their responsibility.
So what does it implicate in the novel? If we were in agreement that the bodies belong to the child, what are the implications of the novel?
That's murder. Instead of.
That you don't have your full rights till you turn 18.
But we just decided that your body was wrong.
But technically that body is the safety.
Hey, is the age of. Yeah, that's messed up. It's not 18. Is it 18? Yeah, it's 18.
It's 18. They want to lower it.
I don't know. Like, I trust my parents wholeheartedly, but if they had the option of unwinding me or not, then I, like at this age at 16, I feel like I have enough knowledge and I'm enough of my own person that like I should make that decision for myself. They shouldn't be able to make that for me.
Yeah.
But therein lies the problem of the parents. If we look at this from the perspective that they have put unwinding, we are not prepared to make that decision because it is a medical
Well,
operation.
nobody would unwind those kids.
Tides.
How,
But from the viewpoint of the parent, it is a medical operation, and you have to have your parents sign off on that medical operation.
But whenever the parent makes that decision, it's never about the child, it's about themselves. They can't handle the child's actions. They can't afford them anymore. Like they can't, it's all selfish. And they're never really like taking into account how much people can change. Like,
We've seen an unwind in this book say that everyone in the graveyard needs to be allowed. Connor has said that they need to be
He said that at the moment of what they did. I don't think he was saying it as like their character. I think he was saying it like this is a terrible act and it's unforgivable. I think that's what he meant by that. I don't think he was.
and
the
if
point
you,
is-
like if everyone in this school is the same person that they are right now, in 10 years, the world wouldn't really be getting anywhere because we wouldn't see any change as people. But parents unwinding their kids don't give them any room for change. Like if I'm the same person, like I could be unwound right now. If I'm the same person in 10 years as I am right now, I'm not going to be satisfied with my life because I want to be able to change.
That is why we have the process from 13 to 18. They have that time from when they are born to when they are 13 to prove themselves. And then if the parent is still borderline, they have until the child turns 18. That's another 5 years for the child to prove themselves.
But then going back to our previous question, like maybe their bodies are their parents up until 13, but when they hit 13, their bodies are their own, and they're there. Like life shouldn't be a game of proving yourself to other people. Like how would you be able to act the right way if from 13 to 18 you were scared to even like take a step because you felt like you were walking on glass?
Exactly.
And like one mistake could lead to your death. Like that's not a life. That's like living in a prison because you're just jailed up until you're 18.
And I think if you could retract the orders, a lot of people wouldn't be unwound. Because you see in the book, like the parents get up to like the night before and then they like freak out.
And usually it seems like it's an act of rage. Like, or in the Admiral's case, like he was trying to prove himself to his superiors and like to his job and stuff like that. And it's just selfish again that he's trying to like gain personal success by using his son in that way. And people